Hi, I'm Bobb Vergiels, and you might not recognize my face, but you may have heard me in my 11 years with the Detroit Tigers, my almost 17 years with Wayne State University in a number of different sports, and my 10 years with the University of Michigan doing basketball, gymnastics, and baseball.
On the game clock today is Rick Corkisville. On the play clock is Alan Lukowski, and I'm your announcer today, Bobb Vergiels.
Is that 10?
11.
11?
No, 11. Rush 11, middle.
Doug Griffin, hitting quarterback, takes the snap and takes it in from 3 yards out. There's a touchdown for your Warriors.
A long time ago, I announced roller hockey in Port Huron, and the young man who did football here was my understudy. He got sick one day, couldn't do a Wayne State game. I came in, did the Wayne State game, football, and been here ever since. And then with basketball, it started the very same year. They had a gentleman who wouldn't show up until 5-6 minutes into the game. That doesn't work very well. So Lisa McCoy, who was the sports information director at the time, asked me to show up and kind of sit in the stands, and if this guy wasn't here with about 2 minutes to go, come on down to the starting lineups, do the game, and we'll go from there. And that's how I got started with basketball here. But Wayne State has been so good to me, from Lisa McCoy to Eva McGillivray to Jeff Weiss, and I've gone through a couple athletic directors too, including Rob. The people here are just so fantastic. The facilities, since I started here, are just, if you were to turn back the clock and look at what they were then, you would never know this is the same university. It's interesting, I park out on the street, but I walk through all of the tailgate parties just to keep pinching myself that this is really Wayne State. When I started here, there was no such thing as tailgate parties. People would show up, they'd go to the game, maybe third quarter they'd leave, fourth quarter. You didn't have the football team down here singing. The band sometimes was 5 or 6 kids. You know, it's just a whole different thing. Plus the first press box I ever announced in didn't even have windows. So yeah, so it's a lot different than it was. The Tigers, that's kind of an interesting thing because it was in the spring of 2004, a friend of mine called and said, have you seen the Tigers website that they're advertising for a public address announcer? I had just signed my contract with the Mud Hens for 2004, and so I thought, geez, I wonder if I can get out. Well, I applied, there's 140 people who applied for the job. I think about a dozen of us got interviews, another 5 of us got auditions in the stadium, and then on April 1st they called me and said, you have the job. Well, unfortunately for me, it was somebody from the HR department who called, and it's nobody I had met before. So I said, okay, who the bleepity bleep is this, and why are you messing with me on April Fool's Day? But I indeed did get the job. It was rather difficult going from the Mud Hens to the Tigers. You wouldn't think so, but the difference between the minor league announcing and the major league announcing is just a huge chasm, huge. And people don't realize it, that it's different. You have to be more entertaining in the minor leagues, but you're kind of, I won't say an afterthought, but in the major leagues, you don't set the standard. You introduce batters, you do things between innings, but in the minor leagues, you are totally an entertainer. There's been a few. There have been a few, and they're mostly the Hispanic players. Last year it was Avisail Garcia, but it was also Matt Tuiasosopo, which was a little difficult to do. And people didn't realize until about July or August, I would write down Tuiasosopo on my scorecard, so I would never say it. I would always read it. Same way with Avisail Garcia, I would do that too. Now we have Eugenio Suarez. So you have those names. Those are, I think, some of my favorite names. Although I always like Brennan Bosch. That was one of my favorite names to say. Oh yeah, Pudge Rodriguez. I like getting to know some of the athletes. For instance, Destiny Levita Stevens is my spotter here. Over the years, I've had other student athletes who have been my spotters. Danny Williams, who was a catcher for the softball team a few years ago. Amari Redfield, who played basketball last year, was my spotter for a couple of years. I've really enjoyed Jasmine McCall. I've really enjoyed working with the athletes and getting to know them really well. And after all of the years I've been announcing, it's been almost 25 years now, still the team that's my favorite is whatever team is the Wayne State women's basketball team. Yes, people say, well, gosh, you've done championships, you've done all-star games, you've done World Series. Yes, I've done all of that. But it's those student athletes who have had, I think, the biggest impression on me. And they're real people. They have tremendous athletic gifts, but they're not so big that they're non-approachable. To be able to announce Joique Bell, and remember that as we're sitting here in this press box, I can see my 3 Detroit homes. I'm at Adams Field, but I can see Ford Field and I can see Comerica Park. And how cool it is to look and see just how close Ford Field is, but how far it must be to go from here to there for Joique Bell. I tell you, I am so happy for him every time he touches that ball. He's a National Football League player, and by golly, he's earned his way, and he continues to earn his way. And I'm glad to say I saw this guy when no one would look at him. People don't realize I'm 62 years old, so I'm kind of getting to the end. I don't know how many more years I have, and I just enjoy every game I do. I was just ill recently, and it really made me realize every game you do is a blessing, and it might be your last. So enjoy it. Like today, I enjoyed today's game. I've got a game in a couple hours over in Comerica Park. I'll enjoy that one too.